Hello and welcome back to a new episode of A Shot of Weeb. This totally isn't our third attempt at doing the intro.
Definitely not, yeah.
Absolutely not. We're better than that.
Professionals.
We're professionals. I am a professional, the Epic Wob, and I am here with my co-host, the Seaweed Ambassador.
That's me, the unprofessional.
I don't think either of us are professional. My mic's too close.
It just goes to show right there how professional we are. We know the distance of the microphone.
Oh man, no! This whole start's been a mess. It was my turn to pick the show we did this week, and we have a little bit of a history with this one.
We do, yes.
So I've chosen to have us watch the show from not too long ago, from October of 2019, the detective mystery political thriller ? Babylon.
All of those on there, yeah. Yeah, Babylon.
Now, the reason there's a lot of background with this one is because way back 2, 3, 4 months ago, however long ago we started this show, back in July, I looked it up.
Yes, it was July. Yep.
It was July, and it's late November now.
Yeah, been a hot minute. Damn.
This was actually one of my suggestions of what to watch for our very first episode. And think both of us can agree that it's very good we didn't lead with this.
Thank God, honestly, bro.
Either way, once we get into this, I do have some pretty strong opinions about this. I'm pretty excited to actually dig into that, and I can tell that Seaweed has some thoughts.
I actually took notes this time, and not just notes. I took over a page of notes, which is unheard of. The first for the podcast. Seaweed took notes. I have very strong opinions about this show.
And thankfully, interestingly, completely expectedly, we have very different outlooks on this.
God, who would have guessed?
So what do you say we do what we always do? We start off with our introductory shot of Weeb, and kick on into the show.
That was a pun, dude.
Yeah!
That was a pun.
I'm just drinking.
All right. Come by. Also, I feel we should mention, because we've never mentioned this before, but drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly.
We're not going anywhere after this podcast. We can record this late so that we can just go to bed right after, or game.
Because I'm a freaking goblin. We both know our limits. We don't drink beyond that. So stay safe if you are doing the same.
Yep. I feel like it is important because we've never mentioned that.
I put it in the description last time I edited.
Yeah, I saw that. I did as well.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, just a precaution also.
So got some legal vodka left in the mug, so I'm gonna mix that with some Sprite.
Oh, we're getting fancy. We're making mixed drinks now?
Only because I don't want to take another shot right now. That's what I mean. So I keep making the same mistake. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a look behind the curtain. We drink a little bit before we start recording so that we're already on the way to where we need to be.
Get a little tipsy before.
But we keep getting distracted before we start. And so that introductory shot was actually, my third and a half?
Third shot.
I took a sip of one in between, so I'm going to say 3.5.
Okay, yeah, 3.5, that's fair, yep.
So, yep. I need to calm it down. You remember that thing about knowing limits? I need to calm down.
Yeah. But hey, you're not taking another shot for another hour?
Not until we come back from our halfway break.
Yep, but we got to get there first. So let's go through the show and get through it all in the first half, and then because I know you have broad opinions you want to discuss at the end.
A very strange turn of events for me. I'm not usually good at breaking down the overall.
I'm very interested in that because that's normally not something that we talk about even just regularly. Is the whole overarching thing. It's more piece by piece.
Yeah, because I'm fairly new to the reviewing game. I've been pretty open about this during our recordings. Is that this is probably the most difficult aspect for me is the actual critical thinking part instead of just giving,
Yeah.
oh, I liked this, oh, I didn't like this, but I actually want to sink some claws into this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first met at our job, and and we were talking about some anime, because we're weebs, that's what we do.
Naturally,
we were talking about some anime.
It's not like there was anything else to do there.
Yeah, that's true. You were telling me about this one that you really liked, that I should watch it, and I was like, okay, well, what's it about? And you were like, yeah, I'm not really good at that. And I was like, what? So you're just not going to tell me about this show that you want me to watch? I was perplexed. I was like, who is this guy? What? I never thought I'd be doing a podcast with him doing the exact same thing he refused to do with me that day.
Like 3 years later.
Yeah. Oh, man.
What show was I even talking about that I just wouldn't describe it? I don't remember this.
Probably Assassination Classroom.
Oh.
I think you just got done watching that show, and you absolutely loved it. Which you still
That's very possible. I adore Ass Class.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Kuro Sensei on your wall there.
Yeah, he's right there. He's right there. My roommate bought that for me, and I'm very grateful. It's a good present.
It's a good poster.
It's a good poster.
But let's get into Babylon.
Yeah, instead of rambling about other stuff again.
How does this show start?
This show starts off with two dudes in a room. And that is the dumbest way I could have phrased that.
We're doing that kind of anime. Well, I didn't watch this anime. Hold on, B.
Two dudes sitting in an office 5 feet apart because they're not gay. No.
I was going a different way with that, but yeah, continue.
Oh, okay. So we meet, I don't recall their last names. We meet Zen Sezaki, who it turns out to be our main character, and we meet something Fumio. Fumio is his subordinate.
Atsuhiko
Fumio? Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
They are prosecutors. That's slightly different. Yeah. Prosecutors are a lot more active in Japan. I've played Phoenix, right?
Yeah, and they're not with the police.
Right.
Like, they're not a section of the police. They are district prosecutors, I believe.
Yeah, it's something like that. I'm not going to claim to know the Japanese legal system.
Yeah, and I think it makes them kind of detectives, basically.
Yeah, they act a lot like detectives. I mean, they're not actually detectives because we meet some detectives later in the show.
Yeah.
But basically,
they can do that job, basically.
Yeah. They're prosecutors. They uphold justice. They have a little bit of, like, what does justice mean to you? Because Fumio's a new kid, and he wants to, like, figure out what's going on. And they discuss on it. And they find out there's a bit of plot. They go on their first job. And it's, like, a political thing. Because Fumio's like, we keep doing boring cases. I want to do political thing. Conveniently enough, political thing happens, like, 10 minutes later.
Also, I just want to say, not to get political, but, like, this is boring. I want to do political thing. Oh my god, bro. I would... That's rough, bro.
Look,
anyways,
man,
continue.
If he goes political, he's involved with the future of his country.
Yeah, we're not going to get into this conversation. Shouldn't have brought that up.
So
we'll continue.
It starts off with...
Actually, wait. There was something I did want to mention here.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Because I'm kind of floundering for a moment.
See, I believe it happened during that, like, intro scene where they're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little small detail I noticed that I thought was pretty cool. But Zen, he has this mug that says "Keep calm and serve justice."
I noted that as well.
At that point, when I saw that mug, I said to myself, "Oh no."
That looks like a t-shirt my dad would wear. My dad literally had a "Keep calm and something" shirt for a while.
Yeah. That's the problem. It's the year 2019 when this show came out. Mm-hmm. I don't know when the manga or whatever it's based on, because I know I think it's a manga.
It's based off of something.
I don't know when that came out. But based on the technology used, it was probably relatively recently. That meme has been dead since before we graduated high school. Like, at least 5, probably 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's made... like it had already gone through the full cycle of being a meme, being an anti-meme, everybody hating it, and everybody forgetting it.
Yeah, and now it's just gone.
It went through the full cycle. And
then
it went through that whole cycle before we left high school. And now it's back, and I hated it.
Yeah,
so
and then
much.
Babylon's just like, hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, honestly. It really was exactly that. It was awful.
Oh, dear. I skipped a little bit of setup. Like, before they had their discussion in the office, it didn't open in the office. They raid a pharmaceutical company that, like, bribed some research institutes to give them favorable data.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what the opening was a raid on the pharmaceutical company.
I knew that's what they were doing. I didn't know why, the reasoning why.
Yeah, I think it was because they were publishing false info. I think the actual allegation was false advertisement, but they also, like, were shown to have paid off some establishments.
Okay.
And so doing through the paperwork from that, when Fumio starts asking all of the, like, what does justice mean to you, Zen-senpai? He doesn't actually say it like that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's
he's the little Kohai boy.
Yeah, basically. Like, it's clear he looks
great.
up to the guy.
I liked him a lot.
No, Fumio's a good
the
egg.
only character design I liked in the show.
I liked a handful of them, but Fumio's was really good.
The character designs were all so bland and boring.
Well, I mean, this is a realistic show.
No,
realistic.
I would love to counter that point right now, but we got to get through.
Yeah, we gotta
overarching stuff.
Oh, we gotta run. I'm taking way too long on episode 1. Basically, they find a piece of paper with the letter F scribbled in, like, blood on it, a whole bunch in the back, and that links them
it's
to.
It's not said to be blood. It's, like, hinted at, but, like, they never actually say. At least not in the subtitles.
But they also say that there was skin and hair in it, though. So, like, I think it's implied.
Right? Yeah, I think it's implied, but they never did say it. So
they did say that the paper had a blood stain on the corner, because that's how Fumio noticed it. It was like, did you spill your coffee on the paper?
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I can believe that for sure. So.
Yeah, and that ends up tying them back to a Dr. Inaba, which they go to his place to be like, yo, what up? And they go there, and the place is just, like, blasting classical music, like, super, super, super loud.
Yeah. Which also, I just want to say, the soundproofing there, that's the best soundproofing I've ever seen.
It must be astounding.
Hear it outside of the door. With his ear pressed against the door, he could barely hear it. But as soon as they opened the door, it was like they were at a Metallica concert.
Yeah, and they have a shot.
It was so loud.
They have a shot from, like, inside the door when they're outside, like, knocking and being like, this is the FBI. It's not the FBI yet. It's the FBI later. With, like, no audio except the classical, because, like, you can't hear them through the door.
Yep. So, soundproofing there, high quality.
Top tier.
Yeah,
fancy apartment.
He was a doctor. He probably had money.
Yeah, but he was also in an apartment complex, though.
Maybe he spent it all on the soundproofing.
Maybe Dr. Inaba's a pro streamer.
Yeah, maybe he's a gamer. That's possible.
I'd buy it.
So they walk in, and then they find him sitting in a chair, smiling with a mask over his face, like an oxygen mask kind of deal, with it hooked up to an anesthetic machine that had slowly been raising the dose of anesthetic till it was lethal.
Mm-hmm. Over the course of 30 hours.
Yeah, 30 hours. And he wasn't tied down or anything, so they're like, okay, this isn't a murder. They found a suicide note, all that fun stuff.
I'm gonna interject real quick. I meant to say this at, like, the very beginning. I know you'd probably disapprove of me saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I guess, like, I don't know, like a content warning. This show deals with suicide a lot, and it also goes into some other topics that are really fucked up around the middle part of the show. So there's some bits of this that might make you uncomfortable in the middle, and I apologize for that, but we're going to be talking about it, so, like, I guess warning.
I will also say, though, that the depiction of suicide in this show is fucking dumb. It's, like, I
actually found it very unsettling.
No. It was like cartoon humor. It was so stupid. But, like, this is as good of a time to get into it, I guess. right now since we're on the topic. Actually, no, it's not, because it involves a lot of different things. We'll get into it in the second half. But yeah, no, I'm fine with having that content warning because it does deal with heavy topics like suicide. I just don't think the show handles it well.
That's fair. Yeah, suicide is like the biggest unpleasant topic that it goes into, but it does mention a couple other bits. There's like there's a murder later that makes me very uncomfortable.
There's some murder stuff. There's some like sexual assault stuff.
Yeah, so just like fair warning if you're going to continue on into this episode.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good warning to have. But yeah, so they find him. He had obviously committed suicide, and that's what the police came to. But Zen is like, something's weird here. Something's not right. And so then he tries to figure it out, and then what else is so they find this link with this prostitute.
Yeah, at least that's what they think is going on.
Yeah, they think she's a prostitute because they saw her going in with some political guys and with Inaba,
and then leaving with a different like voter leader.
Yeah, yep.
It's like the head of the construction guild or whatever, something like that. Yeah, look, man, I watch Isekai.
But so then they bring her in for questioning, and she is like just clearly insane.
Yeah. They do this like interrogation, and she's like, "I'll sign a paper saying I did all of the things as long as you tell me about you," and starts just grilling Zen.
Yeah, and one of the things they do with this scene is like the way I wrote it in my notes originally is that first off, I hate the changing aspect ratio because it goes from anamorphic 2:1 to 16:9 to 4:3 all in the same one. If you don't know what those are, if you're not like a film guy, anamorphic 2:1 is like what you'd see in like a movie, so it's like it would have the black bars at the bottom of the top really long. 16:9 is the regular video like you're watching right now. If you're on YouTube, most YouTube videos are 16:9. 4:3 is the square.
Yeah,
not exactly a square,
like an old TV.
Yeah, like a CRT TV or like an old anime or something like that.
Yeah, because it does go into that really like heavily cinematic 2:1 for the interrogation sequence.
And then also on top of all that, it's like somebody who just learned about all the cool tricks they can do in Premiere Pro. And they used all of them, but they're also all the most basic ones you can think of.
See, I'm not gonna argue on that one too much because I commented on that in my notes, but not here. I noticed it really bad later.
Here's the thing. I hated it here because, again, we are editors, so I think we pick up on these things more. And at least for me, editing, like, if you're doing something like that, it needs to be intentional. And here, I didn't see any reason for it to be. There's no need for it. It didn't feel intentional. It just felt like somebody trying to make it look cool. Yeah. Later on, though, once the pieces start to come together, I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense now. It's also still really fucking stupid.
Yeah. I'll be completely honest. I don't know if this is throwing my credit as an editor out the window, because the way you call that out. I didn't really pick up on too bad of an editing here because I was busy focusing on the animation itself and trying to keep up with the dialogue because I've seen this show before. I watched this not quite as it was airing, but like slightly after it aired. Yeah. And so I was like deeply combing through the dialogue to see if I could pick up on anything I'd missed the first time through.
See, I think that's where I didn't like this because it was distracting me from the dialogue.
Yeah.
So I was missing a lot because it was like I was trying to keep up with what was going on. And I think that is one of the limitations of subtitles, right?
Yeah. We don't speak Japanese, unfortunately. It would probably enhance the experience.
And I don't know if there was a dub for the show or not. This is one of the rare cases where I think a dub would be helpful for me as a viewer. Like, I understand there's reasons for dubs. Like, do whatever. There's some good dubs out there. But generally I don't like dubs as much. But this
Yeah.
is one of those times when there's so much happening on screen that it's hard to. I wasn't having problems reading it. I was having problems comprehending.
Yeah, that's completely understandable.
That was
there were also a few issues I had with that later, where there's like subtitles in the show and subtitles for the show that are like overlapping whenever they're showing title cards, like when they go to America later.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't have as big of an issue with that, but I think I'm more just used to that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that before,
But no, on this sequence, again, I was focused a lot more on, like, the animation and the dialogue content, and so I did comment that, like, they go, like, really detailed on some of the facial animations for, like, bits there. Like, Magase's reactions, okay, this is, like, the third girl that they're, like, trying to talk to in the show, and it turns out, we find out later, they're all the same person. Ai Magase. She can, like, have different appearances or whatever. So this turns out to be Ai. Magase's face animations during the interrogation are, like, really in-depth. Like, when she's thinking about an answer, there's a lot of, like, just content in the way her face moves. And I kind of noticed that's kind of impressive, because I don't see that to that degree very often. I'm not gonna say this is the best example of it. Did you watch Fire Force when that was airing?
No. I've not watched that yet.
I didn't finish it, but there was a really incredible sequence in an otherwise underwhelming show. A really incredible sequence of one of the characters is trying not to cry, and it's like all focused on the facial animation. And I think that's the only other sequence that I can really think of where that has that good of an emphasis. Fire Force did it better.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't think it did it effectively, though.
Yeah, no, it did feel a little
everything
odd.
It felt odd and over-exaggerated. The odd thing, that's fine. It was supposed to, like, play into her character kind of deal, how she's, like, this, like, kind of, like, weird, menacing, odd girl who can just change into anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it was so over-exaggerated, and the facial expressions were so distinct that whenever you saw it on one of her other, like, personas, I guess we'll call them, you could instantly tell it was her. And, like, yeah, that was the point, but also then why I didn't understand why that was such a big, why they focused on that so much when there's something else they could focus on.
I actually kind of like that. What you just mentioned there, the fact that you could tell it was Ai in a different form. You could tell it was Magase in a different form just off of the way she reacts to things. I thought that was actually really cool, because that usually she makes one of those reactions and then you as the viewer realize at the same time as the character that is Magase. I liked it.
That would be cool. That's cool in concept. I really like that concept. But there was never a time when I was like, oh, that's not Magase. Even before she made the facial animations.
Really? Like, so, like, you saw in the broadcast, in the debate broadcast, you saw that one coming, that it was his wife. Because that one caught me off guard both times.
I was pretty sure that's who it was going to be, based on the previous stuff that had happened, based on the flashback. But I will say I did think, now we're jumping ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, that was just like the most egregious example I wanted to call you on and be like, hold on, did you really?
Well, what I want to say is, like, I was pretty sure that she was one of them, right? But I thought it was going to be the girl on top of the roof. And when it wasn't her...
Oh, that's way later.
I was like... Right, yeah. But, like, when it wasn't her, I was like, okay, well, then it's obviously this other person. Because it's the only other female character.
Wait, we didn't actually see Magase in that final bit. I'm talking about a different segment.
Which segment are you talking about then?
I'm talking about the episode where they go to spoilers, we're out of order. The episode where they go to kidnap a politician.
Oh,
when they go to
they're in America.
Yeah, when they're trying to kidnap Itsuki. And it turns out Itsuki's wife was Magase in, like, disguise.
Oh no, I was pretty sure. As soon as the mayor was like, "This is my son," I was like, "Okay, so the wife is the girl." Got it. Cool.
Yeah, no, I did not catch on to that. It blew me away the first time, and then I forgot about it and was caught off guard with it the second time too. I don't know
I
if
was
that
almost
means
positive.
I don't know if
Because
that means
almost
that
every female character was her except for one. There's only one female character that wasn't her, or two. Sorry, there's two. There's two. And one was his assistant that comes in, who I did suspect at the beginning because we hadn't seen other forms of her yet. I was like, okay, it makes sense if she's infiltrating. But once we met that one doctor, I was like, okay, so it's not her. Clearly, it's not her. It can't be. So I thought it was her beginning, but then the only other female character is the UK Prime Minister.
And I'd say the president's wife was also pretty clearly not her.
That's fair. Yeah. No, she was. Yeah, she was not her as well.
Mm-hmm. Either way,
but still, that's it.
I don't know if it makes me gullible or you really good at seeing stuff ahead of time. Either way, the twist that Itsuki's wife was actually Magase, or Magase in hiding, or whatever the situation may have been, that caught me off guard both times I've seen this show. So, like, I didn't think it was that bad.
I don't know. Maybe I've just seen this done better, and so if there was more female characters in the show, it wouldn't be an issue. That's why it's so obvious.
That's
to me.
fair.
Because there is only 3 that have like speaking lines that matter.
Yeah,
like, there's reporters. Okay, wow, I really think a reporter is going to be her. No,
look, Scooby-Doo did
that
it.
Literally would have been the easiest way to do it. I'm just realizing now that would have been the best way for them to do it. Mm-hmm. Just have a reporter be her. They all hear her voice because she's a wizard. And I'm getting into like.
Yeah, no, it didn't bother me that much, but I can see where you're coming from with it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna like really fast TLDR the story up until the kidnapping because we kind of skipped that far ahead. There's like the Shiniki initiative, and they're trying.
Oh, well, wait, no, isn't it before this or is it right after this? Maybe it's right. Is this still episode 2?
We started talking about the debate and the kidnapping plot. That's episode 6.
Okay. Well, episode 2, at the end of episode 2, Zen's like best friend, the best character design in the show.
That's episode 1. That's at the end of 1.
That was episode 2. Was it not?
No, episode 2 starts off with the interrogation.
Oh, that's right.
Fumio's suicide note was the end of episode 1. Fumio was only like actually in 1 episode.
Right, because episode 2, it's the like because there's a guy in the room with the interrogation who's taking notes, and he killed himself. Yeah, in a delayed
manner. Since we've actually established it, I'd like to rewind a little bit. There's one thing that I only noticed on the second time through.
Okay.
So we found out later that Magase was the girl that Fumio was chasing, and the reason he died, and that Magase was also the lady that Zen took in for questioning. They look different, but they're the same person. But Zen didn't know that. Zen doesn't find out about Magase until the end of that episode, if not the next one. But when he brings Magase over for interrogation, when he catches her outside of the hot springs with the politicians and is like, here, can you come to the prosecutor's office? When he pulls the wallet out of his jacket, he doesn't grab his own. He held up Fumio's, which means he tipped his hand to Magase because he didn't know that was Magase, but Magase is just like, that's the guy I just killed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that the first time through.
I did notice it because their hair is so radically different. But like I didn't realize that it was like tipping his hand. I didn't really think about that. So
yeah, because we didn't know it was Magase at that point.
Yeah, no, I had no idea that there's this witch wandering around at that point. Let's see. If we go to episode 3 here, just kind of go quick here. I'm gonna have to rephrase this. This is the note I said I'm gonna have to rephrase.
Okay.
So while I'm thinking about that, I'll say my other 2 notes. Firstly, the Prius drifted. Priuses cannot drift. Priuses cannot drift. I know. I've driven in a Prius before. It doesn't work like that.
Maybe you just didn't drift well enough. Obviously.
No. Priuses just suck. Their brakes are so touchy. I hate Priuses. My second thing here is this is a question for you. I want to see if you can maybe help me understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they show Zen giving the report?
I don't think they really needed to. So, like, he
Why
goes
not?
he goes to give a report for context, because we haven't fully established this. He goes to give a report on Magase, and they're, like, trying to get dirt on they think he's connected to Itsuki, who's trying to start a city. There's, like, a separate city, and they're running for mayor for it.
Yeah.
But there's, like, shady shit going on in the background, and, like, this big politician is, like...
Who's backing it?
Yeah, and so he goes to give his report about the incident, and the big politician, Nomaru, I think his name is, shows up and sits down, because at this point, Zen thinks Nomaru is behind it, and it was absolutely going to call him on it, and then Nomaru comes and sits down, and the chief's just like, what you waiting for, bud? Go ahead and say it.
Uh-huh.
So...
Here's why I don't like that they didn't show him giving that report, right? Because the next time we see that politician, which I don't care about his name, next time we see him, they're like friends and on the same side.
I wouldn't say it's friends.
What happened? Not friends, but they're on the same side.
Yeah.
They're acquaintances in a positive way, which is not what would happen if like some guy I didn't know accused me of being behind this like big shady thing that's behind the scenes where making all these people kill themselves. Like I would not be cordial to that person because I wanted to see the development there. Where was the change?
Well, the change happens during the discussion. At the start of the next episode, Nomaru, the chief, and Zen all, like, sit down in an office, and they, like, hash out over what's going on. And Nomaru's like, look, you're going to be helping with political stuff. I know that's against your morals. Come to terms with it. But I'm not the one who did the killings.
He's still overly cordial about this. I don't know. Maybe
I
he's
think
a
it's
politician.
because...
Politicians always have a mask, and they're dumb as hell. So maybe that's it.
Well,
the masks are dumb. Not politicians.
Oh, why Nomaru wouldn't have an issue with it? I thought you meant why Zen wouldn't have an issue with it.
No, Nomaru.
I think...
Why would he be so chill with all this stuff?
I think... Honestly, I'd say confidence, because Nomaru clearly has the chief in his pocket.
Yeah, but still.
But he also, like, he needs...
Like...
They have a common enemy, because he has issue with...
Yeah, but Zen
Magase
doesn't know that, and neither does. I mean, I guess Nomaru understands that, but like, Zen doesn't know that. Zen's like, this is the guy. When did like Zen's mind was just all of a sudden changed? Like, oh no, it couldn't be him. After their conversation, there's never any like development to get there. It's just like, yeah, he's not the guy anymore. He said he wasn't. I trust that.
I mean,
I trust the politician whose job it is to lie to get people to like them.
I guess that's reasonable. Again, I feel like it's more Zen gets put in this awkward position where, like, he has to follow his superior, sort of, who is, like, making it very clear that you are going in league with Nomaru. And I think I think Zen's issue with Magase and figuring out what happened to Huro takes priority over anger/suspicion at Nomaru if it gives him a chance of finding something else.
I guess that's fair.
Because he's still, like, reeling from Fumio's suicide at this point.
I still think it would have been so much more interesting for the audience to see how that went down instead of just, we're going to leave you on this cliffhanger in the next episode. Oh, we're not going to show it. Oh, aren't we so crazy, guys?
I think
even if they would have showed, like, a 2-minute clip before the abomination that I will not call an OP, because that thing is awful.
I mean, we'll address that in a moment. I feel like the cliffhanger into the office discussion between Zen, the chief, and Nomaru is sufficient. I think it does fine, personally.
There's just not enough emotion at all, which is a problem with the whole show, actually. Generally, except for the final episode.
I can get with that. There is one bit, I forget exactly where it is. I will see it when I come across the note for it, but there is one monologue that, like, really gets to me, and I'm like, okay, y'all nailed it here, specifically at this part.
Okay.
But that's not till later.
Yeah, and then for my last comment, this is more of a comment, not really a question, so we don't have to discuss this. because I understand the purpose. Okay? But I don't give a singular fuck that Adachi, whatever his name is dead. And here's why.
Which
Okay?
person? I assume you're not talking about Fumio.
No, I am talking about Fumio. Yeah, Fumio.
Dude, you just said he's the best boy.
No, I did not. I said he has the best character design. There is one character that I like the character of, and we'll get to him in a bit. I felt no connection to him at all. So seeing his death was the same exact emotion I had to seeing somebody had died on the news. It's so far distant from you that it literally means nothing. And
I disagree.
I understand that it's to give Zen a motive, but it does nothing for me as the audience, which should be, when you're killing off characters like this show does, at least the first few, like, that are relevant characters to the story, I feel should be impactful to make you empathize with the main character, to be like, okay, I want him to solve this. I didn't care who solved it. That's not, like, I didn't care, because, like, yeah, he had maybe he had a motive, but also his motives get so convoluted in this whole show that, like, it doesn't matter. By the end of the show, like, Fumio is nothing.
See, I will admit, the show kind of loses track of the Fumio motive as it goes on, but that's just because there's more, like, stronger, more recent stuff that happens after that fact.
Yeah, I feel like I'm fine with that. Yeah,
I feel like the first time through, a little bit less the second time through, but the first time through, I was really, like, impacted by Fumio's suicide, because I thought he was going to be the main character when I first watched this show.
Oh, I didn't have that. No, didn't think that at all. I knew from the minute I saw him that Zen was the main character. I knew immediately. He was focused on more, like, he was the superior, and I knew going into this that they weren't going to have a rookie. Like, I will say, the description of the show you gave me, very different from what the actual show was.
What was the description that I gave you?
You just focused more heavily on the drug, which was not that big of a thing.
When was this description? Was this when I was first watching it?
Yeah.
That would be why.
This was like right before we started, when you first brought up the idea of doing this for an episode.
Oh, so I had finished the show.
You had finished the show, yeah.
Okay. I don't really know how to explain that then, because I don't remember. You might have just been
talking about the, like, primary initial thing without trying to give too much of the later stuff away, which is fine. But it gave me a different perspective of the show going into it. But I knew, because it was a mystery, like, detective thing, they weren't going to give it to the rookie.
That's understandable, I suppose.
It's just not going to happen. Also, I mean, I took a course on screenwriting. I'm not a screenwriter. Not the best.
As a screenwriter.
No. But, like, when you're making a movie, generally, this is the general rule of thumb, not always, but you want your first character that's shown on screen to be your main character, which Zen was, I believe, the first character shown on screen, outside of, like, clearly secondary characters. Like, there were some secondary characters, but yeah, that's where I was coming from with it. So I didn't care. I can see if, like, you think he's the main character, but I didn't get main character vibes from him at all. So.
That's fair. And again, this is coming from just us having, like, very different perspectives going into this, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm questioning. I'm kind of questioning my own understanding of this show, given that apparently literally zero aspects of this show did we both have the same view on it.
Uh-huh. Yep. I'm curious because I didn't take any more notes until episode 7.
I did what I always do. I take at least a few notes per episode, so.
Okay. So let's blaze through it here, this bit. And I'll kind of hop in when there's something notable that I want to mention I guess.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm just going to hit main points for now. I'm going to jump through main points until you stop me, okay?
That sounds good. Perfect.
Okay. The reason there's all this political intrigue going on is because there's two politicians that actually matter. There's Nomaru, who's the old guy that they suspected for the murder, and there's Itsuki, this young kid. There's a new precinct coming up in Japan called Shiniki, which the name is a little bit telling if I understand anything about it.
What does it mean?
Isn't Shini like the prefix for death? Like Shinigami, Shinderu, stuff like that?
It might be, actually, yeah.
I feel like it is, because I feel like that's supposed to be like some symbolism right there. I don't know. I'm not fluent in Japanese linguistics.
The connection I made was to Shiki, which is a horror anime. Definitely no correlation here. But it is funny because it is about a town, but it also has vampires, so very different.
Yeah,
very
it's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
Basically, Shiniki is supposed to be an area that is like slightly separate from the rest of Japanese governance, and they can test out new laws and stuff. And Nomaru is like, we're all running, me and Itsuki and a bunch of other people are all running for mayor of this. And then he point blank tells Zen, Itsuki is going to win. Doesn't matter what the votes are, Itsuki is going to win. Which is why Zen is unhappy working with this.
They have control. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it's literal political fraud. That's why Zen is unhappy having to work with them, because he's, in essence, perpetrating an illegal act.
Mm-hmm.
Itsuki gets elected, disappears for like a little bit,
yeah,
and then shows up at City Hall. We've already seen 2 suicides, because at this point, Inaba and Fumio have done suicide.
There's 3. The transcriber.
The transcriber? What do you mean?
When they were interrogating Masake.
No, that happens in this
episode
segment
3.
because he's on the rooftop with the others during this next bit.
Oh, that's right. He that's right, because this is when the Prius drifted. Yeah, because that guy. Yeah, we're still in episode 3. Because that's what happens. That's why they're drifting a Prius, is to go to the building.
It's because they're trying to get to City Hall.
He disappeared. That's right.
They knew he disappeared, and they knew that the mayor was up to something.
Well, they also knew that this girl is all the same person, is connected to everything, so there's something about her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're rushing to City Hall because Itsuki has started a declaration, and his first statement for the city of Shiniki is that they recognize the right to death. They're attempting to pass a law that makes suicide completely and totally legal. And to show that, he has 64? 32? I think it's 64.
That's a stack in Minecraft, so I'd say so.
He has a not insignificant number of people who willingly, Magase clearly had influence, willingly jumped off of City Hall for him. Which
and
City
that's
Hall
not
is like
speculation either.
building.
That's fully just stated.
It's pretty much stated, because one of the people who jumps off the roof at this point was the guy who was writing down stuff during the interrogation, and we know that he had gotten left alone with Magase.
And we know that he was in a daze when she left.
Yes.
Which is what happens to everybody.
Yeah, and they go back later and trace the steps, because they kick into like an investigation team. They split it into 2 teams. One team to find Itsuki because he's gone missing, and the other team to figure out what to arrest him with it, because he technically hasn't done anything illegal.
Yeah.
Nothing openly illegal.
Right, yeah. They can't find anything to arrest him on, so they're trying to find anything just to bring him in.
Literally anything, because it's all about public opinion. Because if they hold him under suspicion, that's going to bring bad mojo to the police department.
Yeah. And even Nomura now, that's his name, right? The politician. Nomaru is like on board with this idea as well. Like he's
because they gave it to Itsuki.
Yeah.
They gave it to Itsuki, but they didn't expect him to go nuts.
Right. Itsuki was chill until he got power.
And then was just like, lol, everybody die.
What a great metaphor. Man, power corrupts. Crazy. Love that one. Though they don't, that's not actually a main thing, because there are people in power who are good and normal.
Mm-hmm.
And he was corrupted before all this happened.
Yeah, well. He presumably had this all planned already.
Yes.
I'm going to continue with the TLDR. Itsuki announces that, like, all the citizens shall vote for whether the suicide law is or not. You'll have some people run for parliament, and at the parliament debate, y'all will debate against me on it. And Nomaru announces that he's going to do it because he's like, oh crap, we need to deal with the mess we just made by handing Itsuki the keys to the city.
Yep. So good on him for that, trying to clean up the mess he made.
Yeah.
And this is when they come up with a plan to kidnap him.
Not quite.
Since they can't... Well, they're still searching for stuff, and they can't find anything on him.
Yeah, so they split the team. They're like, okay, only 2 of our detectives are going to be looking for him himself. I want the rest of you to look for charges.
Yeah.
They do a little bit of a side, though. We've already met the assistant at this point. We forgot to mention her. What's her name again?
Hey, wow, good point.
Hiyasa Sekiro. She replaces Fumio, basically. She's just like this chill girl. She's good at her job. I like her. She's a simple character, but I like her.
Yeah, she's definitely a she fills out the role she needed to and nothing more.
They do a what's it called? Kendo, I think it's called. It's the sword, bamboo swords.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
And she absolutely trounces him, and it's kind of great.
Yeah, because he's a first Dan. The other guy he starts against is a second Dan, who's this big buff guy. And then she is a 6th Dan, I do believe.
That guy who's the 2nd Dan, did you notice how thick his neck was? Holy crap.
Yeah. He's a big boy.
Man, man is beefier than Minecraft Steve. He is a square.
Tall, too.
But yeah, no. I want to say I like Hiyasa a lot, but she really doesn't do that much other than just do police work. And be a little bit of a counter to Zen in a little bit of a way, kind of. Because at this point...
both straight men. Like, they're both the straight guy.
Yeah, except Zen is getting, like a tiny bit unhinged at this point. Like, a tiny bit.
But not enough for this point for her to be, like, a foil.
Yeah. So. Yeah, she's more, like, keeping him grounded, I guess, kind of? Am I giving the show way too much credit right now? I might be.
You want me to give my answer?
Oh, you're going to say I am.
Yes. Yes. You're giving it positives? Yeah, you are.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I have some positives.
By the way, in regards to your comment about Magase earlier, I only just noticed this note. I did write down a note where I wrote, all women are I.
Yeah, because they are.
I don't think that's what I was referring to. I think I was referring to a segment where Zen started just, like, hallucinating random people as Magase. But I suppose that fits.
Because that was
right after the City Hall
right
scene.
After the big the big group suicide, because he saw her there. Well, he saw her there. She wasn't actually there, and then everybody, for a little bit at the beginning of the next episode, I believe, everybody he's talked to turns into her. Everybody he sees turns into her
for a moment. Yeah.
So I guess he is coming slightly unhinged because he's seeing things. But yeah. Anyways,
they do a segment that only kind of matters. They go to, like, they find a record that's like, Magase used to be a trouble child in high school or whatever, middle school.
Yeah.
And
then we get this weird old pervert.
Yeah. I don't really know how to address this sequence.
Well, okay,
it's supposed to demonstrate the way Magase works, but it just comes across as creepy old man.
But actually it doesn't. This is one of the few times it doesn't.
It does and doesn't at the same time, in my opinion.
Because, yeah, but the thing is, this is gonna. Oh God, I'm realizing right now how bad this is about to sound.
Are you about to just step in it, dude?
I'm about to just step in the shit and just fucking. I'm about to go. All right. This is gonna be bad.
Am I gonna have to edit this out?
I'm sorry. It's a possibility. We'll decide after I say it. It is her fault. Because he has shown no, like, as far as we know, so I think we can believe this, he has shown no attraction to any of these girls that have come in before to like be evaluated.
Yeah, the entire
Until
sequence
she comes in. Yeah.
The entire sequence is based around demonstrating how Magase warps the minds of people.
Yeah. And then she comes in, and the camera is the camera is sexualizing her, I guess. I don't know. That's like the best way. It's not exactly that, but it is that. But like it's trying to show like her aura, I guess, or her magic, because she's a witch, and we'll get into that.
She has magic. But yeah, it's not just the doctor that does this, because there's all the students he talks to.
Yeah, but that's the thing with creepy old man. That's what we were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Because we know it affects everybody, not just him, and he only has it, and he's fully ashamed of it. I don't think it comes across as creepy old man. It does come across as like, oh, this girl is the devil.
It comes across as creepy old man at like face value, but if you actually like dig into the intent of the scene, if you watch the full scene, then you'll know it's not creepy old man. Yeah, I can take anything and make anybody look like a creepy old man. Yeah, no, it takes a little bit of getting through his dialogue before you realize that like it's not.
But not even. It sets it up. You know he's not a.
That's fair.
Pervert.
I'm probably playing.
It's not.
I'm probably just playing way too nice with this right now.
No, you're actually being too mean to it in this one instance. I'm actually giving it credit because it set it up well.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Is like. Yeah,
you're not giving it the full credit, because nobody's gonna watch this show, a scene from this show on YouTube, because nobody cares about this show.
Yeah, no. It's like if you were to, for some reason, put it in a vacuum, like part of it in a vacuum, it feels a little weird, and so it does have a little bit of that weird to it. But like if you take like the whole thing, like it's a demonstration on how Magase works, because the doctor was like. He describes it as like... He said fully,
I was aroused.
Yeah, he does straight say that.
I don't understand it, but I was aroused, because it's also his niece, I believe.
Yeah.
Because they're related by blood. And he was like, I know it's wrong, and it's not... It didn't feel good. Like, it was not good.
Yeah.
But it's what happened, because... And he was like, I've never seen her again.
Yeah, and he confirms this because he talks about a bunch of Magase's classmates who describe that they feel they were violated, even though literally all they did was talk with her, and he agrees that that's exactly how it felt.
Yeah.
And so that gives that...
I won't say the full violated's enough. I won't say it.
Yeah, that's we don't need to go further than that.
But you understand what we mean when we say violated.
But... Yeah, no, and so that like gives insight onto like how Magase makes people do things. That's just how she can be. She has magic powers, I guess.
We'll get into that.
The show doesn't really dabble with supernatural. This is the closest to supernatural it gets.
This is literally supernatural.
Okay, Magase is the only supernatural aspect, and she's not even explicitly supernatural, but it's kind of
she is, and I'll explain that later, because she is explicitly supernatural. But we'll get into that later, because we need to get through the show. Okay, so we're about to the part where now they're planning the kidnapping now.
Yeah, we also find out, they plot out the map. They find out, after talking about Magase, they find out that everyone who jumped off of City Hall was within meters of a single road the day of the incident. So they suspect that Magase just walked down the road talking to people.
Yeah, because if she whispers in their ear, they'll commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then they're planning the kidnapping, because they're like, okay, we can't find anything. We're just going to kidnap him. And he was like, I know this is illegal, but if you're with me, or if you're against me, you can report me. If not, whatever. That's it.
Yeah, because he's like, there's nothing legal we can do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they have it all set up at the TV station where this debate's being held. And everybody is separate. There's not a full team anywhere. Everybody is an individual in their location, which... Man, wonder how that's going to turn out.
May I sidestep for like a brief second? There's a character that we haven't really addressed that I think is important to set up at this point. Kujin, who is like an inspector detective man.
The police officer?
No, he's the man with the purple ponytail.
He's with the police. Yeah, he's with the police.
He's an inspector with the police, but he's also like Zen's friend. And he's just like a chill dude.
He's the only character I fully was like, this guy is cool.
Yeah,
except for his character design, That's a whole problem with the show.
Oh, I liked the way Kujin looked, I'll be honest.
No, he looked like a knockoff version of the guy from Gatchaman Crowds.
He had like purple hair, small purple ponytail. I think a slightly purple suit, actually. It was supposed to be like a purpley gray suit. I really dug it.
I don't know. I've seen it done way better, and the aesthetic of it all, didn't like it. That's a personal choice, though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you're wrong in this instance.
If I can rag on Devilman Crybaby for having a style I don't like, you're completely okay saying that you don't like the style of this show.
Yeah, but you're just wrong with Devilman Crybaby.
Okay, bud.
You are. Because that is one of the best pieces of media ever created. Anyways, that's a talk for a different time. I could go on for hours about that show. Mm. But yeah, he's the only one that I actually liked the personality of, because he was like, I mean, he's described later on, like he was this guy, he did his job, he didn't go above and beyond, he knew what he could do, and so he stuck with that. And
mood.
And he was just chill. It was great. I liked him a lot, and he was like kind of this like cocky. He was kind of cocky, but more like coy.
He sasses Zen a lot in the best ways.
He's very sassy. Yeah, he was great. I liked him a lot. Yeah, and so the only character I actually liked.
Yeah. Show. Do you want to finish this episode?
So this episode is this episode 7. I want to make sure.
No, this is 6. We're still in the.
I don't remember how this episode ends.
Wait, this isn't the kidnapping. The kidnapping happens a little bit later, I think.
The kidnapping is in episode 7. Is when all that goes down.
Yeah,
but I think it's fine to go ahead and skip there.
Yeah,
because there's nothing important in between.
There's the video of the internet kid. There's a with like a Sentai mask or whatever that is like, my dad wants to kill himself. Stop him. Yeah,
and then he comes out, and then whatever his name is, the Itsuki's like, that's my son.
Yeah, because
son, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Nomaru uses the kid as like a trump card, and then Itsuki's just like, lol, no, he's with me.
Because anybody can run in this city. There's no age limit, and anybody can vote, and that's part of the reason of the city, like to see like if kids are able to vote, like have enough conscience to like choose the right decision, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna run for parliament. And then the old guy's like, I'm going to back him, even if it means I'm not going to be in Parliament. Which I was like, okay, I like this guy, because he's not all about himself.
Yeah, Nomaru was using the kid as a trump card to beat Itsuki.
Yeah. And then Itsuki comes out with, oh, that's my son. Son, I'm so sorry. I wanted to kill myself because of your heart or something. And I was like, oh, okay. Fine.
Yeah, because that's the reason...
There's issues with that.
That's the reason Itsuki's running, is because if he were to just straight commit suicide under the current legal rules, he wouldn't be able to donate organs to his son.
Yeah. Which, like, okay, I don't know if that... I like that law because it tells... It's like, don't commit suicide because nothing good comes of it. Which is, generally, in my belief, that's the case. There's really nothing good. But, like... So, like, you can't even do good after you're dead with your body afterwards. Whereas he's trying to make it so that, like I understand his reasoning, don't agree.
Yeah. Which is, like, the entire premise of the show, or at least the second half of it.
Yeah. Well, kind of. We'll get to that. But then, like, also, he's a politician. He clearly has money. It wouldn't cost him that much to just get a heart to transplant into his son.
I mean, unless there's a shortage of them.
I mean, yeah, unless there's a shortage, but it's... When you have that much money, there's not a shortage. If you have enough money to be a politician, you can get... No, what I'm saying... The reason I'm saying it, like... Because if you have enough money, you can get anything, because you can outbid somebody else.
I don't think organ transplants are on a bidding system.
There's corrupt doctors.
Okay.
Who will be like, oh, sorry, we couldn't get this one for you. Something happened with it, but then they'll put it in somebody else. I'm sure that happens. Everybody's corrupt. Or not everybody. There's corrupt people in every field. So I don't like the fact that he's a politician, clearly affluent. And then he's like, and pretending like he couldn't. This is the only way. Like, it's such a bad motive for me, because there's other ways he could have gotten the heart transplant for his son.
I'll be completely
he has money. Maybe that's something else. I'm not getting into that though.
I'll be completely honest. I didn't really even count it as a motive. I didn't bother finding a motive for Itsuki. Like, and I'm not going to say that's a good thing.
No, it's not. It sucks. But yeah. So that all happens, and then
we did also blaze over one other death that might be worth mentioning. Another detective gets killed. Because Zen had one specific detective like following up on leads of Magase. But then he goes like off the radar, and then Zen gets a phone call for this Tsutsui. Gets a phone call from Tsutsui, and it's Magase, and she's got him cornered and makes him just like jump into traffic.
That's right. Yeah.
After rambling about RPGs.
Yeah. And then at the kidnapping scene, everybody's at their post, everybody's alone, and then he starts losing people on the team, like they're not responding, and so he's starting to freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe it's his assistant, is like, that's Magase. Like, she knows because Magase spoke in her ear softly, and so she was like, that was Magase, it's the wife or whatever. Big twist, plot reveal thing.
Yeah, because she'd run off on her own, and she can like tell from like the I don't know, the aura, the actions, that it's Magase.
No, Magase whispered in her ear, so she was going insane. She was starting to want to kill herself, but before she fully lost it, she reported back. That's why she did that.
No, you've got that confused. That's Kujin that reports back to Zen. The lady runs off on her own. She gets kidnapped.
No, well, she's behind the stage, and she's there specifically to... I guess she was there to arrest him, but yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. The ponytail guy gets whispered in his ear and reports back. But no, that happens after. Because that's when he goes out and finds them, and he's already shot himself in the leg.
Yeah, to keep himself sane. The assistant girl, Sekiro, was not going to kill herself. She's the one who gets...
Oh, she just got kidnapped, and that was it?
Yeah.
I thought that's how she was able to tame her and, like, be able to kidnap her, because she had a gun.
No, I don't really know how they...
Whoa, crazy. It's almost like the show has plot holes.
Okay, bud, calm down a second.
Look, regardless. Anyways, yeah, so the police... Ponytail guy kills himself. My notes, they killed off the only character I found enjoyable. Great.
You've just like skipped through an entire This is my favorite episode, and you've just completely blazed through all...
Nothing happens!
No, let me finish. As far as this entire series goes, my favorite part was the detective thriller aspect of it. And in this scene, this is the last part of the show that still feels like a good old-fashioned detective show. When they don't know what's going on, they're escorting the politician, the guards start slowly going missing. This feels like what I wanted the show to be.
That's fair. Here's the issue I have with this. I've seen it done way better.
Yeah, and you've seen 200 more shows than me, okay?
Right, but you've seen one of those shows that it's done way better. Or you've seen most of it. Because Death Note is exactly that.
Either way, I'm
just saying. That's fine. That's fine.
I really, really enjoyed this episode. I felt like it was a lot of fun watching the detective, the prosecutor team, go rogue and try to enact justice and watch things slowly unravel for them. And it does end with Kuji getting talked to by Magase, but he keeps himself sane by shooting himself in the leg and then tells Zen, run, go home, drop the case, take no part in it, she will kill you.
That's not how it ends. There is a final scene to this episode. And I know because I have this in my notes.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that is this part because I literally wrote that part.
It's like the last 6 to 7 minutes of the episode.
I wrote that part because I did not want to describe the specifics in my notes.
All right, well, I'll describe it.
Go for it, bud.
The assistant gets all of her arms cut off methodically off screen. They don't show anything, and that's the worst part of this. If you're gonna do, they shoot people in the head on screen, people hang themselves. This show is not like a far like they're not like going against showing gore. So why did they not show any of it?
I mean, they kind of are. They kept. Well, no, never mind. Kujin literally shot himself on camera.
Yeah, multiple characters shot themselves on camera. A guy gets shot on camera. We see the blood pool out of his chest at the end in the last episode.
Can I say something that I think you'll disagree with?
What?
I thought the sequence was actually pretty well done because during this entire time, it keeps cutting back and forth between. So Magase has called Zen on like a recording. So like she's just streaming and sent the URL to Zen. So
yeah, she's on Twitch. She's live on Twitch.
Zen can see Magase, Magase cannot see Zen. And so it keeps cutting between Magase doing her thing to Sekiro,
dismembering,
Zen's reaction, and Zen's family. It keeps cutting between his family making a bento box. And there's a lot of really good cuts where, like, Magase swings down with the axe, which, by the way, was hinted at earlier. The detective that gets killed
had a receipt for an axe, yeah.
Had a receipt for, like, a $60 axe. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was pretty expensive, yeah.
But, like, there's a lot of, like, match cuts that sort of, what's the word? Counterpose. Juxtaposition? I don't know the word I'm looking for.
I know what you're talking about, yeah. It cuts it to where they're doing the same action with something else.
I mean, it is match cuts, but...
Yeah, it's match cuts.
It's discordant match cuts, and I think it's a really artistic scene. And it's a weird thing for me to say, because I'm not usually good with artsy stuff.
The reason I don't like this scene, I don't think that they needed to show her cutting off every limb.
They definitely didn't need to.
Graphic detail. No, that's fine. What they should have done is, after it was all said and done, shown a wide shot of the massacre. That would have hit so much harder because of how this show is. There is like I had this weird feeling, almost like she wasn't actually killing somebody, even though I know 100% she was. But because they never showed the body after she swung the axe the first time, the body was never shown again. It made me believe that she was doing something else, and that there was almost like a mind game going on, because we have seen him hallucinate before, that he was almost hallucinating her doing all of this, because it is out of her character to directly kill somebody. That had not happened before.
That has not happened before, and that hasn't happened again. I will give you credit there.
Right. So it felt super weird when they didn't show the body ever.
But
because it could have been a mannequin, and because the only person in this whole... There's only two people in the show who have talked to her and not committed suicide. That's the doctor, or her uncle, whatever he was to her, and him. And we know he's hallucinated before, so it would make sense that she would use that power to make him hallucinate again at this point, to make him think that he had killed his entire team, and instead she just kind of kidnapped her, or made her commit suicide on her own in a different way. That's why I don't like that they didn't show any gore except like one blood splatter. Like, because that's not how it works when you cut off an arm. It kind of sprays.
May
a lot of pressure built up in those veins.
Care a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not usually this like upfront oppositionary to you. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think this episode was plenty gruesome and effective enough as it is. I don't think the hallucinations were Magase's doing per se. I think that was just Zen, like, overreacting, or not overreacting, or like having a hard time processing what had happened. I think the sequence of her killing Sekiro was completely fine and moving enough as it was, and I think showing more than that would have been unnecessary and excessive.
I have two counters here. if they had developed her character more, it would have been moving. But because she was just female replacement for other character,
she and Zen were just finally starting to get close, though. Like, because, like, literally, this is going to sound dopey. I'm not saying this is a good example.
But she didn't feel like a character. She felt like an archetype.
That's
my issue. She didn't feel like a person. So, like, I didn't believe any of it.
We barely see her outside of working except for the kendo match.
Yeah. Which is still in the offices.
Yeah.
Like, but then my other point here, to your hallucination thing, if he wasn't hallucinating her, then what was his magical ability that he was able to live? Like, he wasn't affected by her voice the first time.
Because Magase didn't choose to have him kill herself. It's not that, or have him kill himself. I think it's that, like, she can probably still just talk to people without.
Yeah, you're right.
Because she never actually.
She has magic powers.
She never does the whisper in the air thing. She just talks to him normally.
I mean, she's kind of whispering at points, though.
Kind of, but I don't.
Segment.
I don't think she does. I don't think she does the thing to him.
I hate that ability, but there's a whole reason for that also that I hate it even more, which comes up in the second half. Which this half has gone so long.
Yeah, I was really hoping that we'd be finished with the story by this point, but I think we do need to take our break right now.
Yeah. So we'll be back shortly. We have a lot more to discuss.
Yeah, this conversation is probably going to get a bit more heated. I think
this is probably going to be our longest episode.
I think we aggressively disagree with each other here, and that's kind of astounding.
I've never disagreed with somebody this hard before. This is wild. That's a lie. That's a lie. But anyways, we'll be back here shortly. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll return for the second half.
Welcome back to the second half of this episode where we talk about garbage. Shot of Weeb.
Okay, dude. Yo.
Look, man, I need this. After that whole discussion, I'm going to need this. So let's take our shot that we take.
Okay, I don't know why y'all so angry about that. Oh, I've moved my mic. Sorry, I have messed up my entire station.
I blame Babylon for everything. Oh. All right, well.
You just kept going when I wasn't ready, and then I caught my soda on my mic. I nearly spilled my shot. Everything went bad right there.
Yeah, see, this is what happens when we talk about cringe, which is Babylon.
Dude, you are not giving this show any credit whatsoever. Holy crap.
That's because we haven't gotten to the credit it deserves yet.
Where are all... I'm going to tip my hand a little bit. We're past the credit this show deserves. There's not really credit after this point.
This is the only part was semi-enjoyable.
Did we literally enjoy opposite parts of this show?
Yeah, we did. And I'll tell you why. So, in episode 9, I believe. No,
is that
episode
where we're
8.
At now?
Episode 8. No, we're on episode 8. Episode 8, we get introduced to this white guy. That's pretty cool. And he introduces himself with a fourth wall break by saying, like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? I'm whatever his name was, Arthur Wood or whatever. And he's getting prepared to take a big old fat dump.
I mean, okay, real fast. That's halfway through episode 8. We have a little bit left with Zen during episode 8.
Yeah, but who cares about Zen? This guy should have been the protagonist the entire time.
Okay.
He has so much more personality than Zen. Don't care.
I don't know. I thought the bar scene was interesting. Zen hallucinates a bar with all the dead people. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So talk about the American.
Yeah, so he goes through his whole, like, life story and everything. He's like, oh, when I was a child, I was a sickly child. And so I couldn't go outside and play. And then I ate all my vegetables, and now I'm a natural medicine boy. And I'm doing a very, very quick synopsis because it's a pretty long segment. And then he goes, and now I'm the president. He doesn't say that. You just walk in on him being the president. That's how the episode ends. But in between all this, there's a lot that we will talk about.
Okay.
What did you want to say though first?
Gamer president.
Yes. Okay. Good. I'm glad we agree. A gamer president would be the best president.
This man,
he's like basically number one in RuneScape.
That's what I was. Yeah, it's not. I
WoW.
wanted to make the joke about WoW, but it's not WoW. That is just RuneScape.
It's literally RuneScape. The camera angle, the graphics, everything's RuneScape. Which is chill. And this guy, he's a thinker. He likes to think.
That's his nickname, is the Thinker.
That's true. However, he's working on this problem, right? Of the whole suicide law.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of... And he's thinking about it a lot. And he brings up this point, which I heavily disagree with. Now, I'm from the South. You're from kind of the South. We both have Christian backgrounds.
I think I know exactly what you're going to complain about.
So he says that in the Bible, it doesn't say anywhere that suicide is a sin.
Which is objectively incorrect.
Well, technically, it is true, because I don't believe there's any part where it says suicide explicitly.
Yeah. But you did write down the same complaint that I had.
But it says murder is a sin. And murder, by definition, is killing someone, I believe. Correct?
I mean, I suppose so.
The general definition. So
we skipped around. He doesn't have this part of the discussion until a couple episodes later.
No, this is episode 8. Oh, this is episode 8. You're right. No, this is episode 8. I
Well,
have this in my notes for episode 8.
Is this 8 that he goes to the chapel?
No, this is when he's on a park bench. There's a whole
in the
scene
park
with
bench.
the Bible. There's another scene with the Bible.
Oh, I thought the park bench was later.
No, park bench is this episode. But killing somebody is a sin, because that's murder. So killing yourself is killing somebody, i.e. suicide is sin. It says in the Bible. There we go. This whole concept is negated.
See,
this whole plot point is negated.
I had a separate segment. He was right. I come from like a Christian background. The reason that I was always explained for this, where he's like, oh, the Bible doesn't say anything about it. It's like, well, no, actually, yeah, it does, because it talks about, like, the body is the temple, don't destroy the temple. That's what I was always taught.
It also says that, yes. So that's just another reason.
So, yeah,
why this doesn't make sense. It sounds, this sounds like, I don't want to, like, shit all over the author here, but I
don't think the point was to get into theology.
Then it shouldn't have been in here as heavily as it is.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
I think that is kind of the point in this half.
Because Gamer President is very clearly, like, trying to
lead by Christian values. Because he says he goes to church.
Yeah, he says it during the summit.
I was told this. He says multiple times, references the Bible explicitly, which is fine if you want to do that. But make sure that your whole knowledge of the Bible isn't just Jesus was a person and the 10 Commandments are a thing. Because the only other thing is Revelation that is ever mentioned.
Yeah, because they did try.
Whore of Babylon.
All right. Apologies for the slight desync here. We had a bit of an audio issue. I swear this only ever happens on weeks I'm recording or I'm editing every time.
It's not planned. I don't want to do this.
You're doing it on purpose.
I think
so we were arguing about how the show got the Bible wrong because we're both Christian background.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I mentioned was that the only thing it uses is essentially Jesus. It doesn't actually ever say it, but like kind of the thing almost everybody knows about Christianity.
They run over the 10 Commandments in the
10
Commandments Revelation.
And Revelation. Yes, that's it. But they use such a weird part from Revelation. I just want to say, I've never heard anybody reference that because there was such a better correlation than her being the whore of Babylon, which is this is the translation I got. That is,
yeah,
that's
I think
the
that's
show is called Babylon.
Yeah, I don't remember enough about Revelation to properly dissect whether that fits with the original story.
I don't
been a long time.
But what I do know is that Itsuki is 100% a better version of the Antichrist Why did they not just use that? He's conquering the world through media through this one law.
I don't think they were trying to go the Antichrist route. I don't think that's what they were getting at.
They shouldn't have brought in the Bible at all because that's what he was.
Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's
the exact description that's in Revelation.
Maybe that's all America is seen as, is Christianity, right? Probably.
I mean, that's fine.
Christianity and football.
That's fine. I don't care. The issue is when you're writing a story like this, you have to do more research. It's so poorly researched.
That is kind of because I did make the same comment at the very beginning because they're like there's no reason it never actually says anything against this. I'm like, no, it kind of does.
Yeah, it actually no, it does. You're just actually an idiot. Otherwise,
okay, that's a little bit mean. I would just say wrong, but
yep, we all have our choice of words, don't we? Otherwise, though, I liked the president. He's a pretty solid president. He would be
president's a good dude.
He'd be a better president than anything else we have. But
let's not jump down that rabbit hole right now.
We're not. That's my only comment. But yeah, so that's all my comments about episode 8. Episode 8, it was such a weird tonal shift. Just all of a sudden getting this white guy doing a fourth wall break. And at first I was like, this is what's going on? But when it started, like, when I understood now that this whole, like, the law thing was on a global scale, and by global scale we mean it was in one city in Japan, one city in Canada, and one city in America.
Mm-hmm. It does slowly like start to spread over the next few episodes, but by the time we talk to the president, it's gotten to Halifax and Hartford, I think it is.
I think so. I don't know, but that's like the only two where the law is actually in place.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know how government works. It seems like it was very drastic measures to go do a G7 summit because two towns had this thing when they easily could have just said, no, bad.
Okay, by the sounds of it, I think the G7 was going to be happening anyway. I think it just coincided.
Okay, that's possible. I was thinking that it was coinciding with Itsuki's summit, and that was the
no, because thing. Itsuki announced it after the G7 was announced.
Right, yeah, okay. See, like I said, don't know anything about politics, the way that stuff works. That was my impression of it. I don't know, it could be wrong, obviously. But yeah, it was I don't know. It was weird, though. Like, that it only affected 3 cities, and still, like, 8 of the biggest countries in the world, or 7, and the EU. Got together.
Yeah, they had, like, an EU spokesperson to, like, head it all up.
To discuss it. I don't know. It was weird. That, especially because it wasn't even happening, like, if it was, like, a statewide thing. Like, if it was all of, that's Connecticut, right? Hartford?
Yeah, if, like, the entirety of Connecticut adopted
if it was the governor of Connecticut made this law, okay. But it's one mayor of this tiny town, because I'm pretty sure the town had 150,000 people, which is a lot of people on its own. I know, but, like, that's a lot of people on its own, but, like, that's a tiny town in America. Like, if it was New York City, yeah, okay, or, like, Los Angeles, or, like, another big city.
Okay, yeah, well, like, New York and LA are practically states on their own at this point, geez.
Right, that's the point. But, like, I just don't see the president having a one-on-one conversation with the mayor of some podunk town in Connecticut. Like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure Hartford isn't supposed to be podunk. I'm pretty sure that's one of the... Isn't that the capital of Connecticut? I think it is.
It might be. I don't know. It's still, like, really small. I feel like they should have just chosen a bigger city. I don't know how geography is in Canada. I imagine it was also a smaller city up there.
I'm wanting to say Halifax is pretty important, too.
Yeah. But,
I don't rightly recall,
it just doesn't seem like, I don't know. The mayors have an awful lot of power. Which, like, that seems like a law that's against the Constitution and would not just be able to be like, we're putting this in place. the
Before we
suicide
move,
law. I don't know. I don't know enough about politics though, so I don't want to get too deep into that.
yeah, before we move too far forward, I do want to say you made a comment about there's a huge tone shift in this episode. Mm-hmm. I commented on exactly this thing, and in my personal opinion, and this is where we aggressively disagree.
I don't think aggressively, but yes, continue.
I liked what the show could have been in the first half, and this episode marks where it completely veers away from what I was interested in watching.
It's now a political drama.
Now it is a full-out political drama, which is not my kind of thing. I was interested in the detective mystery chasing down this girl who's making people kill themselves, and then it just stops to philosophical political ideology. And I don't jive with it. I really don't.
That's totally fair. I mean, it was huge tonal whiplash for me.
Mm-hmm. It's a different show, almost. Because, I mean, the Magase stuff is still there, but it takes a backseat.
Well, also, they're all new characters.
Yeah, because we start following, like, all the...
But who gives it?
Yeah, we start following the world leaders, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Zen is still chasing Magase a little bit, but the focus is on the leaders. This might be...
the show that I correlated this to the most, or it's actually a movie, is Shin Godzilla. I know you haven't seen it. It's the most
someday we will get to a point where I will understand what shows you're referring to.
Well, this is Godzilla.
I mean, I've seen some Godzilla, just not that one.
It's the newest one. We'll get there. But
how new is newest?
2016.
Is that the weird Matthew Broderick one?
No, this is the newest Japanese one. Sorry, I should have made that clear. It's the most recent Japanese one, directed by Hideaki Anno, the guy behind Evangelion. That's what you would know him from.
Okay.
And it's a lot of political talk for the whole thing. First time I watched the movie, I was like, it's pretty good. You know, I like it. It's Godzilla, so I like it. But I recently watched it again, just on a whim, and I absolutely loved it. I loved all the like conversing about politics. I don't care about politics in the real world. I don't know about them. But like just hearing them talk about politics concerning Godzilla, that got me interested.
Is Godzilla legally a citizen? No,
It was like, what should we do against him? Should we carpet bomb the whole city, or like what did we put in place? We don't have anything in place for this. It was really interesting, and I put this in a similar category because this is something that's never been brought up, I don't think, in government about suicide. And
it's a new frontier in governance, and it's how they react to it.
And the thing I really didn't like, though, when they were like making analogies in the summit, we're just going to be hopping around. I think this part, I don't think you really care about giving a full summary because it is really just them talking until the last episode.
There is one episode that I would like to talk about in the middle of this, and then I think the ending is worth going over.
Okay. Well, I'll just mention this then. But when they're when they're conversing about this thing in the summit, in Canada, I believe it's Canada, the representative of Canada brings up that they're really progressive with like the homosexual marriages and like all that same-sex
those two things get compared like 3 times in this show, and I'm just like,
I was like, no, those are not the same thing at all.
Really not.
Yeah. Like, and that was a little off-putting, I must say. But it was nice to see, again, like I do want to give the show its credit when it is. It was nice to see like homosexuality, like in terms of like legality, talked about in a positive light in a Japanese show.
Yeah, I actually had a similar comment. We complained way back in the Classroom of the Elite episode. You complained about like the one black guy having like 2 lines.
Oh yeah.
There's a black dude in a position of power in this episode. He's like the right-hand man to the president. And that's kind of cool.
He's also not like a token character.
No, he's a dude doing his job.
He's on the same level as everybody else. Yeah, it was great. I liked seeing that a lot. Though I will say, the leaders were all white, and there's only one woman. But it kind of reflects how the leaders
are. Modern world leaders.
Yeah, which is what it was. It was trying to say it was in modern, current day, current time.
Yeah, because when they go to the G7, I suppose it's worth saying it's the EU, it's Canada, America, Japan, Germany, UK, and Italy are all the people that show up. And France. France is a bit of a dick. I don't like him. That's not a statement on the country. It's the character of the guy who is leading France.
Wasn't it? Was it not Italy?
Italy was the money man, but France was like super condescending to.
Oh, I thought Italy was the big big nose skinny guy.
No, Italy was like the bad dude that was just like, money.
Okay, yeah. I got them mixed up then. Yeah.
No, because they have a phone call with the French, whatever the French leader's called earlier on.
That's right. Yep, I remember now. That's right. Yeah, so that's like our main cast for the rest of the show, except for Zen coming back.
Yeah, because there's one in between bit that delves into the Magase investigation. Zen and an FBI dude.
Oh yeah, because Zen becomes a member of the FBI.
Yeah,
which is why he's in America.
And we find out the reason he wants that. He like straight up tells the president, "I want." He initially lies about it to try to get in credit, but then the president calls him on it, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to become FBI so I can get a gun. I need to kill Magase."
Yeah,
just straight says that to the president of the United States, and the president's like, "Yeah, that sounds legit."
Yep.
Gives him a gun, but he forbids him. I think the like indication is that he's forbidding him from killing Magase. Because earlier he said if you kill Magase, you can't go back home, but then he gives him the gun and says, "Make sure you go home."
Yeah. Yep. But he also says in that point, which is very important later, do with this gun.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing his wife tells him when he leaves to go to America or something. Or no, it's before then. It's before the whole raid. His wife's like, yeah, we'll be fine. We just do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. But anyways, back to America.
Yeah, they go to Hartford. Zen and an FBI dude go to Hartford to talk to the mayor because they suspect Magase is behind things.
Yep.
That twist, Magase talked to the mayor.
Wow, who would have guessed? Yeah, she talked to the mayor that because he was like, I'm not sure when I actually, came fond of this idea, but just one day I was just thinking about it and I just came fond of it. It's like,
and then, no, it wasn't. It was when he talked to Magase and she's like, "Idiot, God's not real." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, killing yourself is cool."
Yeah, because they have a phone call recorded at the hospital or something.
What's that Always Sunny meme that went around for a while? That like suicide is badass. Was that a thing? Had Danny DeVito?
Possibly.
I think
I know Danny DeVito tried to kill himself in an episode by hanging himself, and he's just he's just hanging there, and they walk into the bar, and they're like, "Oh man, are you dead?" He's like, "I will be soon," or something like that. And he's like, "Don't try and stop me."
For context, I hate that show. I just know the memes.
Oh, I like that show. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I love what I've seen.
I don't find it funny. I really don't. God. But the memes are good.
Yeah. Yeah. So
wallpaper engine. Why you do this to me? Keep going.
So we've got that, right, and then we've got also the guy in Canada said, I think, a similar thing. Like, we kind of know that the mayor had talked to him, but then the leader of Canada is super young, and he's like on board with the idea without having talked to Magase.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, we gotta push boundaries, yo. He's not as young as Itsuki though, because that was like a plot point with Itsuki is that he's like 30.
Yeah, Itsuki was like the youngest politician, I think, super young. But yeah, no, he's still pretty young though, to be like the leader of Canada. And they get into this whole like big discussion, and then like, Mr. President is like, guys, instead of arguing about if this law is good or not, or is right, if we should enact it, let's do something simpler. Let's try and define what good and evil is.
I can't tell if this is the best episode or the worst, and I think it's the worst.
This is the episode. Yeah. I liked this episode. I liked the visuals. Actually, here's what I wrote. I'll read this word for word. I said, surprisingly, I like the visuals of the summit around the world tree. It's like a thing of Yggdrasil, kind of like a metaphor there. And then my next note is, All right, it started to lose me after they were in the womb.
Yeah, no, basically they took a lot
abstract.
They took a lot of abstract in this. Like, they'll have characters reflected, and then it pans out to the UK Prime Minister is sitting on a scales, and then it pans out again, and Germany's holding the scales.
Yeah, it's holding, and they're like getting progressively bigger as well, like Matryoshka dolls.
They got super experimental with the sequence, and I kind of want to commend it for that, but I also think it got a little ridiculous.
It works really well in some places, but it completely is like, it's like almost to the point where it's not even abstract, and it's even more just like, look, because when they're in the womb, they're talking about like, I believe they're talking about like what's ingrained in you when you're born, like the morals are ingrained in you when you're born, because there's something in every culture, most cultures at least, believe that murder is bad. Not killing necessarily, murder, which is a difference, because there is, there's a difference between those two words. But yeah, so it's a big, like sometimes it's like super abstract and like looks really cool. Like I really like the point where he's holding the scales and the prime ministers and the scales, and then you see
that was an interesting, visually interesting sequence.
But then when they're just floating around in the fluid of the womb, I was like,
yeah, that was a little bit odd.
Okay, that's weird.
There were sequences with cave paintings. There were sequences with stampedes when they're talking about, well, humans are animals and animals don't do this.
Yep. Also, in this episode, another thing I wanted to bring up is that I don't remember who said this, but somebody says that like we can't suicide is not illegal, right? Like the act of killing yourself is not illegal, but assisted suicide is illegal. And then they're like, but that's a double
with like
standard.
some exception in a sense.
No, I don't think they mentioned any exception.
I mean,
like,
well, they like briefly glaze over it. There are some places that like do like medically assisted suicide, but it's like not a big thing.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not a very widespread thing at all. But then they said this is a double standard, and I was just sitting there, and I got to thinking, how is that a double standard? Because in the case of a suicide, an assisted suicide has somebody that you can charge criminally with murder because they've killed somebody or helped in the process of killing somebody. But suicide, when it's a single person, who do you charge?
Yeah.
What's the point of making it illegal? What is the consequences they're going to have? Nothing. They're already dead. Like, that's why that whole thing, it's like, that doesn't make sense. That's not a double standard at all.
Yeah. I think basically
weird one-off comments like that like don't make sense,
My overall thought on this segment, the visuals were interesting, but they could get out of hand sometimes. The content of it just kind of dragged. It went into this like full like philosophical debate out of literally nowhere. In my freaking detective thriller, I had 6 episodes of a detective thriller, and then 2 episodes later they're over here debating the nature of good and evil and what it means to be a human. I'm like, look, this is not what I signed up for.
If you watch Death Note, you can get the detective thriller.
I don't. Shut up about Death Note. Holy crap.
I'm sorry, dude. You kind of set yourself up for that one.
Oh, there's also a bunch of like other pressure, by the way, G7 at this point, because by the time of the G7, we already mentioned Halifax and Hartford, Grenoble in France, Heidelberg and Bologna in Germany, and Southampton in the UK have all legalized it. So like there's a bunch of countries on board for it at this point.
You wrote all this down.
I wrote all them down.
Okay. Yeah. And then also we learned that the Itsuki is holding a summit at the same time as the G7.
Yeah, he announces one to coincide probably to like co-opt viewership or something like that.
Yeah. Which is exactly what happens, because then he calls the president out.
Straight up calls the president.
He's like, hey, we have this girl who's not sure if she should commit suicide or not. Can you, and like if I talk to her, she's going to think that I have an agenda. Can you talk to her and try to help her decide?
Yeah, and it ends on that.
Yeah. And
final episode.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if I want to use these words. These are harsh. These are strong words here.
How brutal are you going to be to this episode?
I want to call this the worst episode. But there's also episode 7.
Which one was 7 again?
The one, your favorite episode?
Oh, no, that wasn't 7. That
was 7. That's when they cut apart the girl. That is episode 7. I have in my notes for episode 7, show the gore.
You remind me, actually, because I had episode 9, the way I had the 9 written looked like a 7, so I got confused. I can't read my own handwriting half the time.
That would do it. Yeah, that would do it.
In episode 9, I would like to backtrack because there was a monologue that like really got to me, and I thought it was the best bit of dialogue in this show. And it's when Zen... I feel like you're going to disagree with me. I can tell from that face.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's why I'm just confused.
There was a dialogue between Zen and the president when they have like a one-on-one discussion about why he requested to be appointed to the FBI, and it's right before he does get the gun and the badge and everything. The president calls him out on it, and he's like, "Are you sure you're not doing this just for revenge?" And Zen has this monologue where he talks about Fumio. He knew this person. He had like the future in his sights. He had all of these plans. He was doing the best he could, and then she killed him. I had this best friend. He was an easygoing man. He was like, and then she killed him. I had this new other subordinate. She was great. Blah blah blah, and she killed him. That monologue, I'll be completely honest, really got to me. That felt very genuine from that character. I really liked that discussion a lot.
Okay.
I didn't really do it justice because of that description, because I kept forgetting words halfway through. But when it was played out in that scene, I felt the emotion from it. I really liked that part. Okay. It felt like Zen legitimately opened up, and it was with Gamer President, which anything with Gamer President is great. And so seeing those two have that like back and forth, I really appreciated it.
Okay. I really don't. After hearing you say that, I don't want to shit all over it.
But are you going to?
But it's just the same complaint I've had before, where none of those characters felt like people. So I as a viewer didn't give a shit about them, and I didn't understand why he cared so much, because it seemed more like he had just met whatever his name was at the beginning. And, like, he didn't know the girl. The girl didn't have a personality. Why does he care? They never talked. Like,
see, I think it's possible
the only one. And I actually remember, when you started talking about it, it's the only part I remember. I don't remember him talking about anybody else but the police officer.
But just Kujin?
Yeah. Because it was very small. But they had a little bit of chemistry as friends.
See, I think it might just be that I get attached to characters, like, really freaking quickly, so I found the deaths of all three of those to be actually pretty rough, so, like...
See, I mean, I can get attached to characters pretty easily, but there's a couple things they need. I mean, firstly, pink hair always helps.
Oh, for the love of Pete.
But the main thing, though, is they need to have, something about them that's unique and not just be a stereotype of a character to fit a role, which is what every character in this show felt like, except for the president.
Gamer president
and the ponytail police officer. Those two are the only two that felt like they had an actual personality. I mean, I don't care for Arthur too much. Like, he's chill, but like, I wouldn't want to see a whole show of him. I might contradict myself there.
Wait, who's Arthur?
That's the president, isn't it?
Oh, Alex.
Oh, Alex. Whatever. It's AWW. I only know that because his username was Aw.
And I'm just like, no, there's no way he's not getting so much crap for that.
No, go ahead. Flame me. Wow, I don't remember the name of a character that I didn't really care about.
No. I'm meaning there's no way the players in frickin' old school RuneScape weren't roasting him for having a username of aw.
Yeah. Well, like, they didn't call him that, though. That's the worst part about that scene. Because in America, if a name is in all caps, you don't just spell the letters out, generally. You would pronounce it as aw. In a video game for a name, you would say aw. You wouldn't say AWW. Like you hear.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't even call him that. They call him like the master or something because he's the top level player.
No. His wife, when he first meets her, because he meets her in the MMO of like a real gamer, you can hear her vocals say AWW.
Oh, did they? I wasn't paying that much attention.
Yes, they did. Because I remember hearing that and I was like, is that how that's pronounced? Okay.
I mean, okay, I want to play devil's advocate here for a second. Maybe that didn't really come across too egregiously to, like a Japanese voice cast. Because,
no, that's fine.
Because awe isn't really a phrase that's an English thing.
No, that's exactly what it is. But it goes back to the whole research thing.
But then to us Americans, we're just like, he named himself aw.
Yeah. But like it just goes back to the whole research thing where it doesn't feel like there's enough research put into the details of the narrative.
I don't know. I feel like that one's passable. It feels dorky, but it feels like an allowable.
It's not like that big of a deal. I was more just saying that's why I remember his initials are AWW.
Mm-hmm.
That was that.
Alexander W.
Yeah. Which I didn't have a problem. Also, I do want to say I didn't have a problem with them saying everything in Japanese while in America because it's a show for Japanese.
Yeah, no, it'd be kind of stupid to call them on that.
Way more, because when the FBI agent shows up at Zen's door, he speaks in English for like a sentence, and it's so bad.
And
then later on in the show, he like makes fun of him. He's like, I don't want to hear your English. Go back to elementary school with your son. Which is supposed to be like a heartwarming moment. He's trying to tell him like live so you can go back to your kid. Also, he had worse English than Zen did.
Yeah, no. It was a good roast. So I'm gonna use this to like bring us back to where we were in the show. In case the girl on the roof is Magase, they're using a translator for the president too.
Well, they had to use it anyways.
Well,
the president didn't know Japanese.
Even though he's speaking Japanese the entire time. Translations. Woo! Oh, hey. I found the sticky note with all our episodes on it. I lost it earlier.
Oh, my God. But anyway, Zen tries to be the translator, and the other guy says, no, your English sucks, bro. Let me do it.
And it was kind of entertaining. I kind of liked that line. I'm just like... Because he's like,
I liked that line.
I was trying to be polite, but your English sucks.
Yeah, I liked that line. So he goes in there, translates, and they have this whole big nice conversation where the president's like, he doesn't say fully whether suicide is good or bad. He's like, instead, I think this is one of the parts that's handled the best about suicide.
This was done really well.
Because he said, I don't know what's right, but can you live until I figure it out? And the girl's like, you mean you just want me to live to think about this? And he's like, yeah. Because but he's also said, if I figure it out and if I realize that suicide is bad or is good, if suicide is good, I'll kill myself with you.
Because he's pretty confident he's going to end up on the other side.
He's not, actually.
Well, then why would he make that bluff?
I don't think it was a bluff.
Oh,
I think because he didn't. Well, okay. His whole setup and backstory was, I don't think I'm worth all of this that I've gotten. He doesn't understand why he has a super hot wife. He doesn't understand all these things. And so, like, maybe he has thought about suicide in the past. And so maybe this is like him saying, oh, I'd have a route now. In case, like, there's a way out for me kind of deal. Which, this is the part that's kind of heavy, but it's going to turn into not heavy and comedy. Really?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even the heaviest part. We were able to get past the heaviest part of the show, in my opinion.
What was the heaviest part?
There's a reason I wrote down the murder as that scene, because that was way too much for me.
Oh, the comedy scene. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
What? No? Question mark? I'm not getting back into that.
We're not getting back into that. It was not that bad, though. That's my opinion, though. That's my opinion.
Yeah, your opinion's wrong.
Nope, that's incorrect. So anyways, basically, then like the girl doesn't kill herself, and they're all like, "Oh, President, you did it, yeah!" And then the president he takes off his earpiece, starts thinking.
He has like a mind blow.
Yeah, you know, like in Jimmy Neutron when he goes brain blast, and it goes into his mind. That's
I forgot about that.
That's what the president does, almost literally. That's almost exactly what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then he realizes that good is continuing, and bad is ending, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So continuing would be to not kill yourself. So that's good. And then he wants to tell this to the girl. So he gets back on the phone, gets back on the horn. It's like, "Hey, girl." And then he hears a voice.
A voice that we've heard a bunch of times.
Wow, I wonder whose voice it could be. I definitely didn't see this twist coming at all. And yeah, Magase is there, and then Zen like realizes something's up because the president's not. Because president walks out. Zen's like, "Oh, something's up." Talk to the president. He's not there. Then he goes to the room with all the translators, and they're all dead.
Every one of them.
They've all killed themselves. And then the president's running up the stairs in like a frenzy to get to the roof of the White House. I think it's the White House. Or no, the G7 building.
It takes him like 4 separate shots to the staircase for him to get to the top.
Which, it was also just a 3-story building? Or 4-floor building?
Like 4 or 5.
No, it was 4. I counted the windows. He went up
of course you
more
did.
stairs. It was obvious in the wide shot. I didn't like intentionally count them because I didn't care enough. But like, there was 4 sets of windows.
Like, I gotta crunch the numbers.
He went up more flights of stairs than 4. He did.
Gotta keep that tension up, dude.
Yeah, that's fake tension in this show. So he gets up to the roof to kill himself. Zen somehow gets there very quickly, even though the president has opened the door to the roof when Zen is at the bottom of the stairs. And the 2 guards that are there have killed themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's also like mass confusion. A couple more guards downstairs shoot themselves, and they're like, "Everybody take out your earpieces. We can't use radio. It's dangerous."
Yeah.
Because apparently Magase's whispering works through radio.
Yeah. But also, it's only going to some people? I mean, I guess it makes sense to have people on separate lines, but also...
yeah, I'd guess that's like separate channels. I'd give that one the benefit of the doubt.
It's still a little weird. Like I would imagine that the channels would be, like, there would be more than just like a couple people per channel.
No, I don't know.
But that's such a small detail. I don't care about that too much. But Zen gets up to the roof, and the president's standing on the edge. News crew is obviously filming him. Like, "Oh, he's on the edge. He said that if he found out what was the right answer, you know, kind of that's what's implied." And the president's like, "Please, like, I figured out the answer. The answer is to continue, not to kill myself, but I'm about to crack under the pressure. I'm about to kill myself, even though it's wrong." And,
yeah, because they equate it to like a balloon bursting. I'm not going to use the analogy that Kujin did. That was uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said
no, the president was the one that said like the balloon. Kujin goes like a completely different route. Either way.
Kujin?
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the president's like, "I'm about to lose it. I'm going to jump. I'm sorry, I can't stop myself." But it would give the wrong message to the girl.
Yeah.
Which means the right thing is to stop me. Hint, hint.
Just do the right thing. And so Zen pulls out his gun and shoots him.
Shoots the president. He's now a wanted criminal.
And then the president falls forward.
Somehow?
Towards the way he was shot. That's not how that works. I don't think.
Yeah, no, he would have gone over the edge.
Yeah, he would have fallen backwards. He was shot in the chest. That would have pushed his chest backwards. He's already standing on the ledge. Yeah,
but no, he just stays upright for a moment, and is like, "Thanks, dude," and falls forward.
Yep. And then everybody's like, "Zen," and then Zen's wife is like,
watching this live. Yeah.
Yeah, and for this one part, his son had left the room.
Good on him.
But like, also, it never showed him leaving the room. Every other time they were together watching the show.
Yeah, no, that was a little weird.
One time super contrived. I hated that part. And then, who would it get? Makase's behind Zen. Whoa, crazy. And he points the gun at her. She points a finger gun at him. And then she's like, so you've come to the conclusion? He's like, yeah, it's continuing is good. Like, living is good. And she was like, oh, that sucks. And says bang. Screen goes black, and there's a gunshot.
Yeah, we don't actually see either of them get shot. It just goes credits.
Yeah. Oh, but don't worry. There's a conclusive ending to this shit show.
Yeah, I messaged you to make sure you didn't miss this.
Yeah. I would have skipped this, by the way, because I skipped every credit. Because the ED sucks, too.
The OP and the ED are barely there. It's just...
Don't call it an OP. That's a disgrace to every other OP that exists.
It's just kind of there. It's like 10 seconds. But then literally, the ED is like a minute and a half for some reason.
The ED is a regular ED. It just sucks. It's just boring. And then, so there's a final scene after the credits, and it's somebody getting off a bus stop in Japan, rural Japan. And it shows this little boy there. I don't know.
Was that supposed to be Zen's kid? Or is it just some kid? Was that Zen's kid or just some kid? I'm not actually sure.
I think it was just some kid. I don't know. Maybe it was supposed to be Zen's kid.
I don't actually think it was.
I think they lived in the city, so that wouldn't... Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, I think it was just some random kid.
And the kid's like, oh, do you need... Kid said something to her. I don't remember what it was.
He hands her back her hat because her hat blew away.
That's right. And then it pans up, and it's Magase. So, wow, Zen killed himself. Big twist. I hate that ending so much.
Finally, something we agree on. So
I hate everything about this show. Almost.
May I take the floor for a moment? This will take me a minute to get through, but
I need to
take a moment and calm yourself. When I watched this through the first time, so I like to make jokes about me being a small brain man. I like a simple show for a simple dude. I usually don't jive with like these super pretentious cliffhanger endings because they usually just feel pretentious to me. Like, unless they're really well done, I'm just like, oh, look at that, trying to make a statement, give me answers, dang it. But with this one, they do this cliffhanger ending. They have Zen and Magase at a standoff. Zen's got the gun, but Magase has magic suicide juju. And so they cut to black before the shot, and we don't know if he shot her or if he shot himself. And I'm normally I'd hate that kind of ending. I'd be like, look, I want to know what happened. Don't give me this theoretical, philosophical nonsense. But this time, just like, okay, I can kind of dig that. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's her. And honestly, those are both good. I'm okay with this. And then they bring in a post-credit scene to fuck up the only one I actually liked.
I remember you complaining about this to me.
I was so angry.
Yeah.
When I saw the post-credit scene the first time.
So the reason I hate this scene so much, it's a different reason. It's similar. But it has to do with the entire show.
Okay.
Because at the beginning of the show, it tries to set up suicide as this like morally gray topic that's worth discussing. Which, in theory, is fine. If that's what you want to do it. But there is no moral... There's no, like, gray area. The show says, basically, like episode 3, I would say, is that suicide is bad and living is good. That's, like, the conclusion. So having, at the end of the show, the magic witch, because she is that. I think they were trying to say that she is the whore of Babylon, and she can force people to do these. She could do these magic tricks, and make people kill themselves.
Possibly, I don't know.
They shouldn't have had any supernatural element. If they wanted to correlate it to something in the Bible, do the research on the Bible first. But also, regardless, don't have supernatural abilities, because it's what she had. Like, it's so bad. It's so stupid. I hate it. But having her win at the end, sends the message that, or it sends a mixed signal first off, like, well, is suicide bad or not? Maybe that's what they wanted to say. That's not what the rest of the entire show said, though. There was no moral ambiguity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And having her win at the end, you know, is like, oh no, evil won. But maybe this isn't evil. But no, it's clearly evil because she chopped the limbs off of a person. She physically murdered somebody.
She straight up says she's a person while she's doing that.
She says she is evil. There is no morally gray area. And I know you're not going to like me making this correlation.
Oh, dear.
Well, it's Death Note, okay? But here's the thing.
All right.
I think this is a close comparison, right? Because here the thing is suicide. Is it good or bad? And in Death Note, is killing criminals who are bad people, is that good or bad? Mm. So I think those are comparable things. And you have this guy who thinks it is good in Death Note, Light Yagami, and you have this guy who thinks it's not. L. Well, actually, I mean, L is kind of like, he's kind of split a little bit, more on the fact, like, this guy is also a murderer, so he's also bad kind of deal. And so you have this morally gray question. And I don't want to spoil this, but it's kind of relevant. You know what happens at the midpoint of the show. Yeah. And if you haven't watched Death Note, skip forward like a minute or two, because it is a big spoiler, but also the show is very old. The manga's old. So, like, I'm sorry. It's also...
Yeah, because people are usually going into the episode we're talking about with expectations of spoiling what the show we're talking about, but not some other random show in the crossfire.
Right, exactly. So, when L dies in the middle of the show, that is...
You know, the point where I stopped watching.
Yeah, because you're dumb. It is the same quality all the way through. Anyways, when L dies, it's almost saying that, like, Light is in the right, but you still have this other ideology that is the police force behind it, and then you have the successors, Nier and Mello, who come up after, and then you have this even more moral ambiguity in Nier and Mello, where Mello is more radical and he works with the mafia, he works with the, like, underground people to do what's right, whereas Nier works in kind of devious ways for what's right, but never anything, I don't believe anything strictly illegal. So you have all of these ideologies clashing, and, like, is this okay? And it's a question that doesn't really have an answer at the end of the series. I won't spoil the end of the show for you because I know you haven't got there.
Yeah, I've read up on it.
Because you know what happens, but, like, that leaves, like there is no solid answer to that question, is killing criminals good? But like in this show, it's shown these characters that think suicide is good are evil. They are manipulating people to believe this, whereas Kira, or Light, didn't ever manipulate anybody. He was just doing these things, and people were like, no, this is good.
They had, like, some, like, natural, legitimate support for it.
It wasn't some girl whispered in my ear, and then I was like, oh, yeah, let's kill the criminals. It was just like, oh, I thought about this, and this is what I believe in. Mm-hmm. Where Babylon puts on this air at the beginning that, like, maybe it is okay to let people kill themselves. But as soon as the 64 people jump off the building, I knew they were not going that direction. That this show was saying suicide was bad because it had people in a negative light. And then at the end says, no, we're actually, like, not saying that fully, but maybe we are, but maybe not. I don't know. We made a bad show and we ended it really bad. So I don't like this show.
I've gathered.
Oh, spoilers for my score at the end.
Would you like to just go ahead and hop in that? Why don't you give your score? I mean, that was kind of a final thoughts right there. Or do you have more you want to say?
I'm trying to see if I have anything else in my notes. I don't. Oh, the only other thing, I will give it one more positive. To end it off on a positive note, don't normally do that. So each episode, it was paced extremely well. It never felt like I was watching 22 minutes of a show. Never once did I feel like it was a slog to get through. I didn't like the content, but at least I could take regular breaks in between each episode, and it didn't feel like I was sitting with it for a while till that end. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get what you're getting at. I don't think I fully agree. There were a few episodes that I got kind of bogged down in. Because, I remember...
There's a couple, I think, there was for me, but overall...
Because in episode 8, where we had that part with Sasaki-Zen, and then it shifts, like, halfway through to Gamer President, I legitimately thought I had watched 2 episodes there, and then I went to write down my notes, and I'm like, wait, episode 9? Wait, didn't I just watch 9?
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I don't know. I didn't have that same thought watching that episode, but there was like the episode where they're like in limbo discussing stuff. I did felt like dragged a bit, but overall, in general, I thought it was paced very well. So,
yeah, I would actually like to amend my previous statement if it's all right. How about I go ahead and do my discussion, and then we'll double back and each give our scores.
All right, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Friggin' chug a mic's harder and let me talk. Basically, my biggest issue with this show as a whole is I was invested when I first started, and then it changed into not the show I got into it to watch. The show had, for a little bit of context, the show had a really weird release schedule. When it came out back in last October, day 1 of the season, I had read up on a bunch of shows that were interesting. Babylon was one of the ones I wanted to watch. I don't remember what else was that season. Not off the top of my head. But I was like, Babylon sounds really interesting. I'm going to give it a go. And on the first day of the season, it dropped the first 3 episodes. So it dropped all of the setup all the way through Itsuki becoming mayor and the people jumping off the roof. The people jumping off the roof was the end of what released on the first day. And I was really hooked. I was really interested to see where this detective thriller mystery show would go. And then they didn't do another episode for like a month. And the release schedule was super sparse going after that. So I waited until the next season and then went back and watched all of it, starting it again at the episode 1 and going from 1 to 12 over the course of about a week. It was not the show that I spent multiple months excited to watch. It started off with something that I could have really jived with. It started off with a plot that I was legitimately interested in. It started off with... I disagree with you. I like the characters. It started off with characters that I was like, I want to see these characters continue to grow and develop. Okay. And then halfway through, it just goes to something else completely. It just starts going like super philosophical. It goes on an entire episode just debating about good and evil. This isn't the detective mystery that this show sold me on. I feel like not everything in the first half was done perfect. I'm not going to act like it was going to be some amazing, groundbreaking show. The second half isn't inherently bad, even though I didn't really like it. Regardless, this show could have been one of my favorites. And then it just changed. It just turned and was something else and was not what I thought I was going to be getting out of it. And I don't like the way it went. I don't know if that makes sense. That's like the best way I can put the words together for it.
I think I understand what you're saying.
Is that even a legitimate criticism? I don't know if it actually is.
No,
I think I mostly just...
because the show did promise something at the beginning and failed to live up to that by changing its genre midway through. It's only 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a 24-episode show, which is like, okay, you got 2, if you split it up into 2 seasons, right? You got 12 in one, 12 in the other. And you have kind of like a slight like genre change in the second episode or second half. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I had this one, and then I don't jive as much with this, but that's fine. That's one thing I for me, it did that way with me was Gotchaman Crowds. I love the first season, solid 6. But season 2, Gotchaman Crowds Insight, is a 9. Because what they're tackling in each season, they tackle it to completion. I don't think it's done very well in the first season, but in season 2, it's good shit. Like, so like I completely understand that sentiment, and I think in that instance, if that was all one show, I would probably say, oh, it was not as good. But because it split it up like that, it gave me, I didn't expect the exact same thing each time, right? If that does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think that's a completely fair criticism, because it promised you something at the beginning and didn't deliver on that, in my opinion, ever. But obviously you found some enjoyment in it, and I'm not going to discount that.
I think it passed a little bit farther along than you gave it the credit for. Because I did enjoy it up through the unofficial kidnapping. I thought that like right after that was when it started to change for the not so good.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
Now again, I'm not claiming the first half was perfect. I still enjoyed it.
No, exactly.
To a degree.
So,
it was on course to be a good like 6 or 7 if it stayed with what it had been.
Okay.
Which is, for me, that's close to standard.
Right. So on that note, what is your score of this show?
Oh boy. My first time through, even with my frustrations on the second half, I thought the first half was really good. I had legitimately enjoyed a lot of the police thriller aspect. I thought the second half was weak, but not unbearable. And I thought the ending was garbage. I rated it a 6 the first time through. You can attest to this. When we started the call today, before I even listened to your opinions, I looked at that 6 and I was like, no, that ain't right.
Yeah.
And shifted it down to a 5.
I think I'm gonna move it down. Yeah.
Shifted it to a 5. I think after really breaking down my own thoughts on it and hearing your side of it, I think both of those together, I need to go back and compare it to other shows in my listing, but there is a very solid chance this is getting bumped down to a 4. Okay. This is like, if Mal had 0.5s, this would be a 4.5. I don't know if it's bad enough to be a 4, but it's definitely not going past 5 for me.
Well, if you use AnyList, you can get those 0.5s.
Yeah, except Mal is familiar, and I don't like change.
Okay. I guess I'll give my score now. So immediately after watching the show, I normally score everything basically immediately after I finish it, right? But with some shows, I'll think about it after I've scored initially and maybe change the score, maybe keep where it is, make sure it's concrete. And with this one, my initial score was a 3.
Mm-hmm.
There were some things I liked about it, and a lot I didn't, clearly. But after our discussion...
Did I bring it up to a 4?
God, no. You did not bring it up. Honestly, the more I think about this show, the more it just offends me that it wasted my time.
Oh, no, you're putting this at a 1, aren't you?
It thought that I was dumb as hell and couldn't try to think for myself about a concept like this. So yeah, it's a 1. 1 is a very special place on my list. I don't think I've ever explained this on the show before because I haven't had a show like this before on the podcast. So with my scoring system, a 2 is bad. And if I don't like your show, or if I don't like the show, it's going to be a 2. But there's a number below 2, which is 1. And 1 is for the shows that offend me, make me feel like I wasted my time. There was almost nothing good in it. Which here, I'm looking at my notes right now, and there is very few notes that I say I enjoyed it. And honestly, talking through it has made me hate it even more. because I realize how much worse it is than I initially thought. So yeah, this is a 1.
You have described
this show is garbage.
You have described to me the only other show on your list that is a 1, and I feel like I don't even think this show's that good. I gave it a bad rating, but I feel like it's almost a disservice to put it on the same level as that other one.
Which is the other one on that list? Curious. Because I think I have a couple ones.
I can't for the life of me tell you what it's called.
Well, what's it about? I can tell you what it's called if you know what it's about. Oh, well, I mean, I know one that's on that list, which is Kiss Him, Not Me.
I think that's the one you told me about.
Yeah. Hate that show. That is... Yeah, I think I only have like 3 or 4 ones, I think. And I know the other one is Ponyo. Those are my 3.
Really? Yeah. I have yet to give a single 1, and I dread the day that I come across a show that is a 1.
Oh man, I don't want to put you through that. Like,
I don't
even want to like make you go through that on the show.
The worst I've been is a single 2. And that is because for a show to be a 1, there has to be literally 0 things I liked about it. Yeah. The one show I've rated a 2 had 1 thing I liked about it.
That's the thing, right? With my 1s, there can be some things that I like about it. Like, obviously, like there's things in this show I like. Like, I legitimately do, like, enjoy... I'm trying to find it on my list. I do enjoy the whole, like, beginning concept of, like, is this morally gray? As soon as that's thrown out the window, though, it's garbage. And I like I do like that they're killing characters, and these characters don't come back. But I wish that the characters were people and not just, things. So, yeah, that's why it's a 1. Because, like, a 2 is generally my rating for things. Like, I just didn't vibe with it at all. I didn't really like it. But, like, 1s can have more things about them that I like. It's that bit about offending me and, like, feeling like I fully wasted my time. Which I absolutely despise this show.
Jeez. I apologize, but I am honored. I am honored by the fact that I have presented you with a show that you have gone out of your way to rate that low.
All right, dog. Don't worry, dude. In 2 weeks is my choice.
Oh no.
I'm kidding. I don't want to watch something that I consider a 1. I would never want to watch that.
If we had a show that I consider a 1, you'd have to give it like a negative or something.
Or maybe I just really like it and you hate it.
Who knows?
I mean, you don't like actual Kino, like Dead Leaves and Binon Koko Chikyu Bobu Love, so...
Anyways, way, what do you say
episode.
We move on to the last entertainment of this episode?
That's right, I forgot.
Came to a standstill about what show we would talk about next.
Yeah.
We have 2 options here. And I have... You're going to get a little more out of this if you're on YouTube. I apologize. I have with me right here 1 singular U.S. American quarter.
All the money to his name. That's a joke. He's got 2 of those.
Oh, it's a Kentucky quarter, no less. Nice and southern.
Okay.
I'm going to flip this coin here in just a moment. And we are going to find out live, quote-unquote live, what our next episode will be. Would you like to say what the 2 shows are and attribute them to sides of a coin?
Yeah, okay. So our 2 shows are Cutie Honey Universe and Korewa Zombie Desu Ka. That's our 2 shows. I think it's also called Is This a Zombie? I believe is the English translation.
That sounds right.
Yeah, because Korewa Pendes is This Is a Pen.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
It'd be Korewa Pen desu ka. Ka makes it a question.
I wasn't saying a question, though.
Oh, I lied.
I said this is a pen.
Okay.
Korewan Pen desu ka is this
Shut up and let me feel big brain.
So Koryo Zombie Ska is this a zombie? So I think with that, I think we'll attribute heads to Zombie Ska because, obviously you have to cut off the head of a zombie, destroy the head to kill it, and we'll attribute tails to Cutie Honey Universe because I hate to see her go, but I love to watch her leave. You know what I'm saying, dog?
I am blocking you on every media for that one. Let's go.
It was a joke, but she is like an attractive character. She's drawn that way in the manga.
I'm just flipping
the original
coin.
manga. Yeah, go for it.
We have landed on heads. My friends, it seems we're dipping into our second zombie show of the series.
Oh, gamer, bro, but the first one of the season.
I was going to try to catch the coin, and then I accidentally flicked it into my monitor because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I'd noticed that. It didn't really look like you were going to catch it at all, though, so I wasn't sure if that was planned or not.
I don't want to answer that question.
Koryo Zombie Ska, an older show. I believe it's 2012. I don't know. I remember back when I used to go to conventions in high school, I used to see wall scrolls for this show all the time, right up beside High School DD. But I bought the High School DD one, not the Zombie Ska, because I hadn't seen Zombie Ska, because this is one neither of us have seen.
Yeah, I didn't know this show existed until you mentioned it a couple days ago.
Yeah, because basically we went through our lists. We went through his list of what he had planned to watch. And then I would just say yay or nay on if I've seen it or not. And I think the only ones I haven't
There were
seen,
like 4.
and they were all like over 25 episodes. There was a couple that weren't, but for the most part, they were all longer shows. So
We also went
choose any of those.
We also went through my list of shows that I had seen to see if there were any that he hadn't, and again, there were like 3.
Yeah, it was
And Babylon was one of them.
Yep, get to cross that one off now. Great.
You mean to tell me this show is worse than Assassin's Pride?
Yes.
I
Assassin's
disagree.
Pride, I was just bored. I would watch Assassin's Pride again. If you sat me down in a room, put a gun to my head, and said, "We're watching Babylon or Assassin's Pride, which one?" Every time, Assassin's Pride.
Wow, I very disagree.
Every time. I would probably watch Naruto filler over this show. And Naruto filler is bad. But
either way,
that's the end of the episode, right there, baby.
We'll see y'all next week with the first of 3 zombie shows that are all in the talks. So who knows when the others will happen?
Wait, what?
We have at least 2 other zombie-based shows that we've considered talking about.
What's the other one? I know High School of the Dead.
I want to rewatch Zombieland Saga.
That's right. We do have 3 zombies.
There's so many zombies on the horizon, yo.
Oh, man. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, yep. We'll get to that.
Eventually.
We'll see you next week with Koryo Zombie Ska. Hopefully, it's more enjoyable than this one.
I don't even have a witty response. I'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.